There we
Can you hear
go.
me?
Hi, Sam.
Thank you.
Hello, Manuela.
Hello.
Okay, great. Over to you guys. And if anyone does have any questions, please do add those into the chat box.
Thank you. Can you see the presentation?
Yep, all good.
Okay, awesome. I'm just going to move my screen around a little bit. Okay, cool. So I'll start. Are we in an AI bubble? Is AI here to stay? Is it going to take our jobs? These are some of the questions that we will have. And some may think that we're in a bubble, but others may not. And I think we can all agree on one thing. AI is the biggest topic of the world for the past year and a half. When ChatGPT came out, the world completely changed and people started conversing with their AI tools. The first thing that we've seen for a very long time that's truly unique about the change in our industry. Today's focus is on how we as advertisers can lean in and turn towards AI whilst considering the societal impact of it and how we can enrich the consumers' lives with our brand communications. So without further ado, I'll introduce ourselves. And we're turning towards AI. So I'm Sam. I'm the Director of Marketing Science for Analytics in EMEA. And I work with Manu on many campaigns, and we optimize with algorithms. I also work with data scientists and analysts, including a chess master who's number 15 in UK, and a doctor of particle physics. So I get to work with a lot of talented people, which I'm very happy to do so. My job is focused mainly on how we use algorithms to improve how we bid on campaigns based on users or inventory sources for attention, for example, and maximize the brand and demand outcomes for clients. So I'll let Manu introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Emanuela Recalcati. I'm Senior Director of Creative Solutions at GroupM Nexus. My role is how do we bring creativity and more relevant and advanced experience when it comes to the programmatic space.
Thank you, Manu. So I want to go back to the roots of advertising and why we advertise, because we don't really talk about it too much. And we can sometimes get advertising and selling mixed up. Selling is about selling a specific thing to a specific person. Advertising is about inspiring people, capturing their attention, and trying to get them to believe in your brand by meeting their philosophical viewpoints. Advertising is all about appealing to people's philosophies and having them buy into brand messages that we push. So I'm a big fan of etymology, and it really foundates the meaning of why we advertise. It comes from the Latin word advertere, meaning to turn towards. And as I said, it's about turning consumers towards new possibilities and ideas. So today I wanted to focus on three things: how AI can help us to inspire people, how it can help us to intrigue people, and how it can help us to involve people. All three of these things are why we operate in our industry. And I want us to remember AI as a tool to enable that, not the key focus, but the key focus is to enable us to improve how we advertise as a whole. So we need to continue to use AI to inspire people. And there's one inspirational man who I want us to focus on for a second, who spoke about his prediction in 1985 for the future of the world with a brand new tool that we've all pretty much seen in the past year and a half. So here it goes.
Who Alexander the Great's tutor was for about 14 years? You know, Aristotle. And I read this, I became immensely jealous. And I think I would have enjoyed that a great deal. And through the miracle of the printed page, I can at least read what Aristotle wrote without an intermediary. And maybe if there's a professor, they can add to that, but at least I can go directly to the source material. And that is, of course, the foundation upon which our Western civilization is built. But I can't ask Aristotle a question. I mean, I can, but I won't get an answer. And so my hope is that in our lifetimes, we can make a tool of a new kind, of an interactive kind. And so my hope is someday, when the next Aristotle is alive, we can capture the underlying world view of that Aristotle in a computer And someday, some student will be able to not only read the words Aristotle wrote, but ask Aristotle a question and get an answer. And that's what I hope that we can do.
So this video kind of summarizes the fact that ChatGPT was in his mind. He didn't actualize it as ChatGPT, but he wanted a tool that he can interact with, a tool that had a copious amounts of data that it can give his answers on anything that we want. And the irony is that Aristotle, being a philosopher, invented logic and he invented this scientific method, both of which are within AI and we're using AI for. He understood that personal computers became the personable computer, a computer that talks to us and is our friend and is our counsel and ally, for example. So he saw the revolution.
Alex,
And speaking of which, there have been many revolutions in history. We've had the agricultural revolution, which marks the beginning of agriculture and domestication of plants and animals. Then we moved on to the industrial, which was mechanization. So using mechanics, urbanization, and the inventions of things like the steam engine. Then after that, the one close to our hearts, right, which underpins AI for us, is digital. So the revolution of digital computing and portable communication technologies like the mobile phone has blown up in the past 30 years, like in terms of we started off with a single device that just had the ability to call and text, and now we can use it for FaceTiming, for internet access, etc., etc. And now AI has allowed us to automate. It allows us to use AI in everyday lives. We can use Siri, for example. We can talk to these chatbots that give us answers. It can do searches for us. It can do research for us. It makes our life much easier. And the Alphabet CEO said, AI could be more profound than both fire and electricity. And I think that the unique thing about AI is it touches all three of these previous revolutions. It influences digital, it influences mechanics, it influences the way that we grow crops, it influences everything. And it's a big fundamental change in the DNA of our society. And advertising is all surrounded by these societal changes, and we must adapt to it. So AI is also making millionaires into employees. So there's one company that in the last 5 years is grown so much that some of the employees with brand equity, with equity in the company, have become millionaires. Now, this company is called NVIDIA. And if you look at this diagram, right now, ChatGPT comes up. That was at the end of 2023, so November 30th, 2022. And that led to the big increase in AI demand and the growth and revolution of AI. And if we think about AI, we think about it a lot from a software point of view. There's not really much of a focus on hardware. And this is why NVIDIA is doing really well. So they develop chips. And if you think about the human brain, which AI is very similar to actually, because the human brain allows us to think. Without our brain, we can't think, right? Without chips, you can't run AI tools. You either have a chip in your computer or you have a chip in a data server, which is called cloud computing, which is external, and you rent out that space or processing power from Google or other companies to allow this AI change to happen. The better the chip, the better the outcome for AI. And Moore's law states that every 2 years, a chip should become twice as fast or twice as powerful whilst remaining the same cost. Now we've beaten that by 63 times. So that's 1,000 times compute power in 8 years, which is huge. A 5x increase in the T-flops, which is effectively the horsepower behind processing these AI. So before we think about just software, AI infrastructure is the key. And if you remember the gold rush, the spade sellers made most of the money. The infrastructure is where everything's going to be foundated. And without these chips, without the infrastructure, you can't run the best tools possible for our industry, for our campaigns. So with AI, there are challenges though. And I wanted to demonstrate it using a famous allegory from ancient Greece. And as Steve Jobs revered ancient philosophers like Aristotle, so do I. And ironically, who taught Aristotle? It was Plato. So Plato had an allegory of the cave, which is a metaphor, I think, for both AI and advertising. So in this allegory, he has people chained to a wall in a cave, and they're being shown shadows on the wall from people holding up artifacts. And that's what they believe to be true, reality. But really, the reality is outside the cave. And one prisoner escapes and sees the reality, comes back and then tells everybody, you're not in the real world. But they didn't believe him and they shunned him. This is very, very similar to AI. AI is very much similar to this, because if you imagine AI is in a computer, it's not in a cave, but it's in a computer, and we are training it on the data that we give it gives it the shadows which it learns from, and it's not in the real world. It doesn't have the human experience. It doesn't taste, it doesn't touch, it doesn't see, it doesn't hear, it doesn't smell. We have that experience. That human experience is unique to us, and AI is in its own little bubble. And the data that we give it feeds it its learnings, but we must remember that it's only as good as the data we give it, and the data that we don't give it also has an impact on things. So we need to work together to give it our human wisdom and merge that with the artificial intelligence. So I want to leave you with this quote just before we move on to Manu's section. We are now in the age of the automation of automation. We used to have a lot of manual processes behind creating scripts to engineer things, to automate, and now we can have AI automate things for us. Not only will this enhance efficiency for campaigns, but it'll enhance the way that we think about the industry, because we have free time to work on bigger projects and bigger ideas whilst AI automates things for us. So I'll now pass you on to Manu.
Thank you very much, Sam. And great to see so much innovation and a little bit of philosophy connected to AI. So, but now let's bring it back. I'm going to bring you back to what we do on a daily basis. And especially for me, I work in programmatic and the creative space. So we see a lot of application of AI within the bidding ecosystem and automation of it. So think about all the optimization across screen, audiences, placements. But in a world where the automated bidding ecosystem is led by AI, where do we see creativity stand? Next, please. So we know that creative and good creative is the biggest driver for ROI. And this is a study that was introduced by Nielsen, and probably you already are very familiar with. But if we look in my next slide, if we look at where do we see really the role of AI playing within the creativity places, for us is really supercharging that power of addressability, and it's around and it's all about automating that marriage between data, creative, and media. And what we see is that this is going to bring a lot of positive. If we look at data, it's going to bring relevancy. If we look at creative, we're going to see a lot of innovation and great experience for users. And then if we look at media, we see efficiency. And we believe that the real, the future of programmatic is really in the hands of who can really addressing the power of this partnership. So I couldn't really talk, not talk, when we talk about addressability, I couldn't really mention DCO. And we know that DCO has been a staple for our campaigns for a long time, but also we see a lot of potential for automation and in this space. And we see really this type of technology really moving from retrieval capacity to generative. And let me give you an example. So if we take a DCO at its simplest form, how it works, we take an ad, we deconstruct it, and everything is placed within an Excel file. When we find the right user, we search for the right content, and then the ads is built and showcased to the user. And this is a very it is a good example of retrieval. So we look at, we go back in this big library and we looked for, AI looks for the information that we need, and then we have an output. Then we really see DCO has been, we see a lot of opportunity here for generative, moving to generative capacity. we see the potential of really exciting and supercharge ad creation. Think about the potential of building new text and copies, images, videos, audios, but also a lot of potential for test and learn. And this is really supercharging ad creation and ad production. So if we move, I wanted to give you an example of how I see creativity and AI working together.
We help small businesses by making Shah Rukh Khan, the world's biggest movie star, their brand ambassador.
इस दिवाली आप भी अपने पास वाले फैशन और एम्पोरियम से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करें। सिद्धिविनायक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन खरीदकर धमाकेदार सेल्फी पोस्ट करें।
We used machine learning to recreate Shah Rukh Khan's face and voice to take the local store names in the ads.
अपने पास वाली चॉइस ऑफ फैशन से ही रॉयल फैशन से ही एमटी क्लॉथ से ही पास वाली लक्ष्मी कलेक्शन से ही
Different versions of the same ad with local store names were targeted as per the PIN code of the viewer, showing them only the nearby stores. But it is impossible to cover all the stores. So we gave the power to the people to create their own version of Shah Rukh Khan, my ad. Any small business owner could promote their stores through their own social media networks like WhatsApp forwards and other social media pages.
So for me, this was a great example on how we see creativity and AI working together. And if you move in my next slide, we see
help small businesses.
We see really how creative and AI can work together, but also we see that AI is not here to replace creatives, but actually to empower them. And here we map down the tasks that we do as an organization when it comes to the creative process, and then where we see the role of AI playing. So for example, if we look on the left-hand side, we see what are the tasks that contains high empathy. And if we think about empathy, it really is what defines us as human. We see creative, we see art, but this is where we see the role of AI really augment the human. And then if we look on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, we see the task that includes low empathy, so the more repeatable tasks. And this is where we see AI really doing the job and help us automate the task. We see the robots taking over on this side. So to conclude, what do we see, what do we expect from the usage of AI within the programmatic and creative ecosystem? So for me, it's really exciting because we can expect increase in efficiency and ROI, and this is driven by optimization and the automation and the reduction of wastage. And then we can expect enhanced personalization and really enable us to tailor those ad experiences. And more tailored ad experiences means that they can resonate more deeply with the consumers, which lead to strong brand connection and increased engagement. And then massive data-driven insights. We know that we sit on a lot of data, and we see AI provides us valuable data and insight into consumer behavior, campaign performance, or market trends. Really, that enables us to make better decisions. And then finally, creative innovation. So we know that AI tools, we really empower creative teams to explore new ideas, generate new content, and really push the boundaries when it comes to ad experiences. And that was all for me. I'm going to pass the mic back to Sam for his final remarks.
Thanks, Manu. So what does the future of our industry look like with AI? Well, we're going to see an enhanced future. We're going to see enhanced search. I'll make a bet. In 10 years, every single search bar in the world that's web and app will be generated. It will have conversations. It won't be just a basic search-based retrieval process where you just search for something and it gives you a web page. It will be dynamic. It will know about you. It will know your habits on your devices. And for example, these platforms or companies that have access to lots of devices from you with one login will be able to basically understand your hyper-personalized profile across all of these things. I also think that tools like Gemini, ChatGPT, etc., have completely revolutionized the search journey. And I think search as a channel will be impacted massively. If you think about search before, it used to be a couple of search engines where people would go straight to there and search. But then you had the rise of Amazon, then you had the rise of ChatGPT and Gemini and other tools. And people have intimate data with these platforms. By intimate data, I mean people ask these tools very personal questions. And it's becoming personable, like I said. So they're going to understand so much about us and our habits, our journeys, where we've been to, and connecting online and offline is a great example within Google Maps. So search is going to change and it's going to be embedded throughout everything. It will be the foundation of everything, as it already is, in fact. We'll have enhanced experiences. So speaking of which, smartphones, as you know, Apple don't really allow other companies to work with their Siri, for example. But they're going to have a partnership with OpenAI. And this partnership will be able to enhance all of our devices. It'll enhance our iPads, our iPhones, our MacBooks, and it'll enhance how we work with our emails, for example, how we work with anything on our devices. And if you think about consumers, if consumers can go to their phone to search, why do they need to go onto their laptop or go onto the web browser to Google search or to Bing, for example? It's going to completely change. So the consumer buying journey is going to very much change and it's going to become a lot easier. So if a journey used to be, let's say, 2 months, it will be rapidly cut down to, let's say, a month, for example, because they can search and do research with these tools. As well as enhanced experiences, we have to have enhanced data security, right? So we always kind of cover that AI has these amazing tools, but all of these tools need data. You have to be data ready before you're AI ready. AI without data isn't existing, right? So Google have put in they just released an article that says that they're going to invest in a company called Wiz Security. All of our things that we run on ChatGPT or on Gemini, for example, on all of these tools need to run in the cloud because it runs a lot of data, and big data needs big storage, and big storage needs privacy, and it needs security. So we'll see an investment in these areas in the next 5 to 10 years, and it will be a growing area. And it also supplements what I said about NVIDIA. NVIDIA's grown massively, and their chips support these cloud computing companies and softwares. So in summary, I think we should cover these main areas. We should cover hyper-personalization with AI. AI will be coupled with our human wisdom. AI will make search conversational and computers personable, which means it will become our friend a lot more. It will enhance creativity. It will make automation simpler. And it will lead to a goldmine of intimate data that we've never seen before, conversational. And it will start to understand how human beings think, how we converse with devices or with other people. And it will start to understand more about us and people as consumers than we've ever done before in humanity. That'll enhance everything that we do. And so I'm going to leave you with the following quote. And this quote is this: AI is not just a tool. It is a societal change in the way humanity will function forever. We are turning towards AI, but not into AI, because human wisdom is the most important thing. And that's what created AI in the first place. So thank you very much.